All right, is being able to rewrite equations. Okay. Why do I have a delay? It's really slow. No. Okay. It's just, hopefully it's not going to, it's still my hands. This might be interesting as I read it. It's not there. It's almost like a magic trick. Okay, so what we're going to do, when this says that y is a function, it is a fancy way of saying that we're going to get y by itself. Okay? Lesson we are going to use the rest of the year. So this is really important stuff. Okay, so if I look at this, this is actually called, and not that you have to know this right now, this is actually called standard form. Okay? And what we're going to be writing it in is slope-intercept form, if you can kind of connect that to some of the language last year maybe. All right, so I'm going to start with this 3x plus 2y equals 8. And I want to get the y by itself. So normally when we look at equations, okay, a lot of times we have things like, maybe we have like 28 plus 2y equals 19. I just totally made this up. What would I do first here? Subtract 28. So I'm going to use those same rules over here, and I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Okay, and I'm doing that because 3x minus 3x is 0, so it takes it off of this side. All I have left here is a 2y. What I have over here is 8 minus 3x because I can't put those two together. Okay, so imagine that I just did that over here. I subtracted 28 from each side. What would be my next step then if I was working a regular equation? Divide by 2. So that's going to be the same thing I do over here. I'm going to divide this by 2, and I'm going to divide this by 2. So these two are going to cancel out. Okay, now if you can remember back to your Chapter 2 test, you had things that looked exactly like this. How did I tell you to simplify that? Get the fractions separate and simplify. Okay, so I'm going to make this 8 over 2 minus 3 over 2x, and I'm going to simplify everything I can. This negative 3, 2, that doesn't simplify. We're going to leave them improper because that's going to be important to us later. But this 8 over 2 can simplify to the number 4. And so now I'm going to write this, and I'm going to keep the x first, the x term here, and then put plus 4. And because what this really is called, this is called slope-intercept form. And this is not necessary that you know that for this lesson, but it's going to come up the rest of the year. So that's why I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. And did you guys see this at all last year, y equals mx plus b? Yeah. Okay, that's what we're doing it. We're turning it into that. So that's why I'm going to ask you to write it like this, because it's going to help us later. All right, so let's look at the next one. We're going to do one more basic one like this, and then I'm going to get a little harder. All right, so, and again, you don't have to write all the words again if you already wrote them out the first time. Okay, so that y is a function of x means get y by itself. Sometimes they'll ask you to get x by itself, but for these, if we're making a function, y is going to be by itself. Okay, so what do I need to do? Minus 5x. All right, so what drops down here? What drops down? Negative 4y, good. And then on this side, I'm just going to go ahead and put them in order. I'm just going to go ahead and put negative 5x plus 20. Because it doesn't matter if I put 20 minus 5x or negative 5x plus 20. And now what do I do? Divide by negative 4, right? These negatives are really going to mess you up if you're not careful. Okay, if you want to take a shortcut, I'm fine with you doing this because that's the same thing. So if you want to go ahead and separate them out to begin with, that's no big deal. All right, now I'm going to simplify. I've got a negative over a negative will make a positive 5/4 x. I have a positive over a negative, so that's going to make minus 5. And now it's in simplified form, in function form. Okay, questions on that before I make them a little bit harder? Does that seem okay? Speak up now. Okay, again, you do not need to write all the words out. So here's our problem. All right, and we're getting y by itself, so what do we need to get rid of? No? No? The 11, because it's on the same side as the y. So we want to get rid of the 11. So if I subtract 11 from both sides, keep it with my numbers. All right, so over here, I'm going to have, what, negative 8 plus 6x equals negative 4y. And now I need to divide by negative 4. And again, if you want to take that shortcut and divide each piece by negative 4, that's okay. So now I have y on this side. Over here I have a negative 8 and a negative 4, which would be positive 2. A 6 and a negative 4, I'm going to reduce that to 3 halves x, and it's negative because there was one negative. So to rewrite it in function form, I have y equals 3 halves x plus 2. I would not, some people like to reverse the order. I would never reverse the order till the very end because it's too easy to make mistakes if you start reversing it in here. I would just get what you get and then rewrite it like that. All right, let's look at the very last one. This would be it for notes. This is the last one, and then we'll do a few practice ones just to make sure you're really getting it. All right, what would you like me to do here? Take away 3. Okay. So I get negative 9y equals 17 minus 6x. And then divide everything by negative 9. So I get y equals, I've got a negative over a negative, and 3 will go into both of these. So that's going to be a positive 2/3 x minus 17 ninths. There's nothing I can do with the 17 ninths. So you can change it into a mixed number if you want. This one, you don't have to leave improper. This one, you always want to leave improper. And you're going to see why when we start graphing it. But you can leave them both improper if you want. All right.